meeting of Atlantic County Board of Commissioners is called to order. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Atlantic County Board of Commissioners was provided in the following manner. Published in the Press of Atlantic City and mailed to the Hamilton Gazette, and has been posted on the bulletin boards in the county offices of building in Atlantic City, the Stillwater Building in Northfield, and the county clerk's office in Mays Landing.
Madam Chair, before we do the prayer, I would like to ask for a moment of silence in recognition of former mayor from Hamilton Township, Lorraine Bernice. She passed away this week. I had the honor of shadowing Mayor Bernice and then Deputy Mayor Joe Nichols when I was in 8th grade for Youth and Government Day, and that's those are the two people who inspired me to wanting to get into government service. Because if you knew Lorraine and Joe, they both had quite an amount of chutzpah and passion, and
you picked up on a lot of that.
And she really did a lot for our community. So if we could just take a moment of silence in her memory.
We'll have a moment. Here we have a prayer.
Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always, satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting, and strengthen us to make wise decisions for the betterment of our Atlantic County community. Amen.
We all plan, rise, favorite flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas.
Here.
Bertino.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Corsi. Days.
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Parker.
Present.
Grizzly.
Here.
Kern.
Here. Okay, commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes from February 6, 2024. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the February 6, 2024 minutes as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner, was it Burns?
Burns.
Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Okay, I'll have a motion. We'll have a roll call.
Ballas.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Grizzly.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, anyone attending in person who would like to speak regarding on an agenda item or at public comments, please come to the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and the town where you reside. You will be provided up to 3 minutes to speak. If you're attending virtually and would like to speak, please raise your hand during the agenda item or at public comment at the end. I will call upon your name and a request to unmute will be sent. Please state your name and the town you reside. You'll be provided up to 3 minutes to speak. Okay, and that brings us to Atlantic County Utilities Authority. We have an update from Matthew Donato, President. And I want to take a minute to thank Matt for being with us again as we look forward to an update as a follow-up to your last presentation with us. And Matt, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here this afternoon. And before you start, I just want to say I have 2 questions that throughout, I don't know if you have answers within your presentation, and you, however you want to handle the questions, I just want to tell you 2, like right up front. So we've all had, on the board, we've had calls from the residents that live in around the ACUA landfill, and a lot of it's complained about the smell. When can you tell them that the smell will cease? And the second question is, does the ACOA have plans to increase the landfill capacity from its current permitted level? So if that's up to you, if it's within your presentation, fine, if you want to.
So the first question I can say, well, first I'll thank you for having me tonight. I'm starting to get comfortable with coming doing presentations, especially at this board. So always good to be here, even under certain circumstances. The first question absolutely will be kind of addressed thoroughly in this presentation. The second question, as far as capacity, I'd like to address at the end, if that's okay, so I can kind of get through some of this stuff first, and then again explain what our plans are for the future. I know the board here has gotten an update on that, but I know some of the members of the public have not. So I want to start our presentation, and I remember the last time I was here, I handed out paper packets, and there was also a question for, or a request for next time I'm here to have some slides. So the information that's in your package is also up here on slides, so anybody that's here behind me or also virtually can see what you guys are seeing as well as the information. So
And I believe you also gave them to the clerk, so she can give them to us as well. We can have them.
great, okay. So the first thing is, I always like to try to go through a little bit of a background. I kind of did this in Absecon on January 11th when we went through our public open house there, I guess, if you will. Just to kind of explain what we're dealing with when it comes to solid waste and the site there at Atlantic County, right off of Delilah Road. So it's a 365-acre site, consists of a recycling center, transfer station, compost site, and a landfill. The landfill is 102 acres as permitted right now. We've been accepting waste in this landfill since 1992. So for over 30 years, we've been accepting waste in this landfill. So everybody's trash that goes out the end of the driveway magically disappears, has been coming to this site at least since 1992. Before that time, Atlantic County had 42 open, unlined landfills throughout the entire county, just in this county, 42 landfills. With the good intentions and the foresight from this commission board and the state of New Jersey, it was decided that Atlantic County Utilities Authority would be created to take care of the waste in Atlantic County, and that was done in every county in the state, and that was actually a direct order from the governor, I believe, back in the early 80s to regionalize that because there was so much contamination. We all know Price's Pit, and we know a lot of other landfills in New Jersey. New Jersey, unfortunately, was the armpit of the U.S. because we had so much trash coming in here. In the late 70s, early 80s, again, there was a lot of contamination, a lot of unlined landfills, a lot of corruption and trash, and that's when the state kind of stepped in and said, hey, this is a social service that needs to be taken care of by the government entities, and that's when this kind of went into place, or started to kind of go in place. So that's when, again, Atlantic County Utilities Authority was put in place for handling all the waste in Atlantic County. It's called Waste Flow. Waste Flow is not unique to Atlantic County. Actually, 14 of the 21 counties in New Jersey have some form of waste flow, and everyone south of pretty much Trenton have waste flow except for Camden County. It supports the system that we have, that we're able to enjoy not just the trash that disappears at the end of our driveway, but the yard waste, the household hazardous waste, all the programs that we've kind of put in place. It's a system. So think of that as a comprehensive solid waste system that was put in place, and Waste Flow supports that. Again, the landfill opened in 1992. The trash is placed over 102 acres. It's over 100 feet deep in most areas. That's how high we go. We go up to elevation 145, and our bottom base is around 30. So 110 feet of trash has been buried at this site for over 30 years. So again, put that in perspective because we hide it very well in the back of our site. You drive by, you don't realize there's a landfill there. There's only one little spot in the county where you can actually see the landfill. That's on Mill Road. As you come over the bridge or the little overpass there by the bay, you see a little glimpse of it and then it disappears. That's done by design. So 30 plus years of trash. It's no secret that as trash breaks down, we've all left our trash out or forgotten to take it out in the summertime, had a pretty smelly trash can in a week. As the trash breaks down, it does create gas, creates landfill gas. That's a fact, that's not a secret, and that's been happening for 30 years. What the gas is made of is mainly methane, so about 50% of it is methane. That's the usable stuff. We turn that into electricity. We're looking at actually cleaning it up and putting it in the pipeline. And then the other one that becomes the issue is the hydrogen sulfide. The smaller percentage of it, but that gives you that eggy smell. That gives you that smell that is off-putting. And I noticed a lot of the commissioners that are here were also at the Atlantic County League of Municipalities on Friday night. Anybody that took the Parkway in and we're getting ready to get off exit 30 to get to the crab trap smelled that eggy smell. It was not the landfill. Every smell in Atlantic County right now is a landfill. That was the bay. That was Patcon Creek, low tide. It's the same type of hydrogen sulfide that you're getting from the bay. Has a little bit of a different smell to it, tiny bit, but again, still has that rotten eggy smell. But that's what we're kind of dealing with at this point. How do you collect the gas is really the biggest thing. So best management practices for landfills are what they call a gas collection control system, a GCCS plan that's done by third-party engineers. And that plan is based off of a landfill gas curve. So there's models that these engineers have. I'm an engineer myself. I'm not specialized in landfill gas curves. Specialized in a lot of other stuff, especially when it comes to operating a landfill, but we hire a third-party consultant to do that work for us. And what it shows is what's the production of gas, how much gas, and it's a yearly thing. So you see it over the course of about 40 years. Landfill gas, if we close today, does not stop being produced for 30 plus years. So I know that's one of the big things. Well, just close it, you know, just cap it and close it. You need to control the landfill gas before you can cap and close anything. Pinelands Park off of Ocean Heights Avenue closed in August 1990, 33 years ago. If you've ever played golf there, you still see there's a little lighthouse. It's actually a flare. We're still collecting gas from there 33 years later. So again, what we've been putting in for 30 years, 32 years at our site is going to continue to produce gas for 30 plus years from today if we stop. The first slide that I wanted to kind of bring up is the health facts. So I know that's one of the biggest concerns that residents have. I've been in close contact with Mayor Capola, Council President Nick LaRotanda. Mayor Ward is actually on our H2A board, as well as Mayor Frommer, so I've been in constant contact with them. So again, trying to keep, especially the municipalities that are close to our site, in constant contact and updates. So the first sheet here is New Jersey Department of Health fact sheet. It's on the website, and what this is showing the health concern. There was an article that was out last week that quoted Mayor Capola. Unfortunately, it was a misquote, and it said the odors are unhealthy, and it should have said that, or I'm sorry, it said the odors are not healthy. It should have said the odors are not unhealthy. We went back to the recording, and again, after speaking to Mayor Capola before then, fortunately we were able to get the press to correct that, but the article was already somewhat printed and published, so 4 days later they made the correction. But again, a very, two little letters in that correction made a big difference in how people would read that article. And this is the information that he was basing it off of. So when you're looking at OSHA standards, and that's in your packet, you see that, again, where we're getting really concerned about hydrogen sulfide, which is the one that you're smelling, you're talking about 20 parts per million. Our fence line requirement, which is regulation, every day we take downwind at 6 a.m., has to be under 30 parts per billion. So that's a scale of over 600 times greater before we are in any concerns at our fence line. So 20 parts per million in ppb is 0.03 parts per million. So our fence line requirement has to be 0.03 parts per million, and the New Jersey Health Fact Sheet concern is at 20. Again, the magnitude is 600. Okay.
Just a quick question, how high is the fence?
It's a chain link fence. It's not a
How high is the fence?
6-foot fence.
And the pile's 100 feet high?
Correct.
So wouldn't that emit past that fence line? If you're taking...
So hydrogen sulfide is actually heavier than the air, so it actually comes down.
So that chemical is coming to the ground, it's coming down 6 foot or 8 foot, whatever your fence is, and going out. It's not, the wind's not blowing it from 100 feet high.
Correct.
Across.
Correct, and you got to think too. We're not always landfilling at the highest point. And again, this is so Commissioner Ballas, this is a DEP regulation. This isn't our decision to say, hey, check the fence line. That's where we're going to measure it. This is, if we don't measure this at the fence line, we're not in compliance. So again, if you have a concern about how the engineering works on a landfill and where they decide to do that, wasn't really our call. It's really the determination of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, and that's part of that regulation. So again, thinking that the gas is coming directly from the top is not really accurate because we're constantly filling in lifts up. So right now we're not at elevation 145 filling our waste. We're probably at elevation 75 right now, and before that we were at about elevation 60. So where we're filling is almost ground level with where the fence is. So yes, is gas coming from the top? Absolutely. But a lot of the spots where you have active or fresh waste that may be 6 months, a year old, is actually much lower than that plateau of 145. Again, it goes back to the regulation. This isn't something that we decided. This is, engineers have put this into modeling, risk assessments, and what actually, how winds impact the landfill. So again, not really our decision on where we test it. We have to follow the regulation. And I'll make a distinction too, because there's a big distinction between regulation, compliance, and detection. They don't align. Two totally separate things, and I'll kind of explain that in a second.
Like I said, I wasn't blaming anybody. I was just asking a common sense question.
Yeah, that's just with Commissioner Baus is speaking to, obviously, the wind is up here, and you're sampling down here, how do you know what's happening higher up? So I think that's a common sense question that
Sure.
he was alluding to, and there's nothing you can do, because you have to comply with the regulation, which says have it at the ground at the fence line at
Right.
that elevation. So to make an assessment, tell somebody off-site that the smell is this, you really don't know what the smell numbers technically might be at that time. It happens to be your sampling and lower, but it could be higher.
So-
And there's nothing you can do about it. I'm following you.
Right, but there's a difference between a point source and a 102 acre source. A point source, that's very, very valid. Think of a pipe, right? Think of a pipe in the ocean and it's leaking oil. You can go to that point, whether it's 10 feet deep, 100 feet deep, 75 feet deep, you can go to that point and that's where it's emitting. Now think of an area across the entire ocean floor, 102 acres. It's a little different, right? So yes, absolutely, when you have a flare, you have something that's smoke that's coming from a single point, think of Beezer, the BL England plant, right? You used to drive into Ocean City and see that smokestack. It's a point source. We're not talking about a point source. We're talking about a 102 acre source of landfill gas. So that's why the fence line is more applicable than saying that, hey, you're just gonna miss that because it's coming off the top of the landfill. We're not flaring it off the top of the landfill. And even when you flare, that's not the source of the odor. The odor is the uncaptured gas.
And also, you probably have multiple locations. It's not like you're capturing from,
Correct.
3 monitoring stations.
Yep.
You have them.
You're beating me to my
Yeah,
presentation.
so we're gonna let you go.
You're beating me to my presentation.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the commissioner's questions.
So
all
actually,
light.
that's the next slide that kind of pops up, is I talked about a gas collection control system, a GCCS plan. It's based off of a third-party model engineer plan that shows what the production of gas is going to be. Now, that production of gas is based off of year after year, not week, month, day after day. It's over the course of many years. This is our most up-to-date gas collection plan. I think the date on it is like January or March. It's pretty up-to-date. We just had it done by, again, a third-party engineer that's helping us with this. It looks a little bit like spaghetti on a map, and that's because there's a lot of coverage. To give you a sense, our gas collection system has grown. In 2003 was the first part of our gas collection system that we installed. It was 19 wells, 3 blowers, and 1 candlestick flare. Today, we have an enclosed flare, a candlestick flare, 5 blowers, hydrogen sulfide cleanup system, over 115 landfill gas collection wells, and miles of pipeline across our site. That is the evolution and how we continue to evolve with our site as it continues to evolve and accept trash in Atlantic County. The biggest and most impactful part of this is on the next slide, which is our vertical wells. So, there's many of, people that come through our door with snake oils, with misters and cover materials and all these different things, and we try to entertain all of them, but we're part of a group of other operators and we try to vet some of this stuff out. But there's really one key and biggest bang for your buck in a gas collection system, and it's this right here. It's a landfill gas well. It's a vertical well, very similar to a water well. Over 115 of these are installed in our landfill, and they draw vacuum on the entire 102 acre property. Again, we're not talking about a point source, we're talking about a span of 102 acres. So this being one of the biggest and most important tools in a gas collection system, this is done every single year. And when we give updates to some of the community, they kind of go, well, you said that last year, you said that last year. Yes, we did say that last year, because we invest, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 every year in these wells, because this is really what captures it. There are some restrictions with this, and restrictions in when we can put them in and how close you can put them. So everybody says, well, just put more wells in. So you have about a 100-foot diameter circle radius. Think of a sprinkler system, right? You don't want the sprinklers to overlap too much of the other ones, because then your grass gets real wet and muddy, and you don't want there to be a gap between your sprinklers, because then you get some brown grass. This operates the same way. I'm trying to make it very simplistic, but it operates the same way. If you put these wells too close together, they start fighting each other and they're not collecting the gas. If you put them too far apart, guess what? You have gaps. So that gas collection system that was on the slide before has these rings that they use, and that's a best management practice across the country, across the state, in landfill and developing these wells. One of the challenges, so I'm going to kind of go through some challenges now. So that's the history of how these landfill sites are developed and how you collect gas. But one of the challenges we face with these is, if you look at that closely, there's a couple dimensions on there. The first 26 feet of a landfill well does absolutely nothing, zero, absolutely nothing. And that is because the bottom has to be at least 10 feet from the bottom of the liner, because this is a big drill rig going into the trash, into the fresh waste, and then putting a perforated pipe in with stone, and then they put a cap on it to make sure that the gas doesn't vent out. You don't want to get too close to the bottom of the liner system that's protecting our groundwater with a giant auger, right? So we always keep it at least 10 feet from the bottom of that liner, so we don't have any concern of actually puncturing through. The top 15 feet of a landfill vertical well is solid pipe. Doesn't collect an ounce of gas. And the reason it's solid is because you can't pull too much oxygen into a landfill. Oxygens in landfills, fires. And fire inside a landfill takes years to put out. There's hundreds of landfill fires all over this country where they're internal and they just continue to burn because you can't get them out. So you're really balancing that oxygen. So 25 feet plus a 1 foot on the bottom, so we drill a little bit more and then we pull the pipe up about a foot, so 26 feet does absolutely nothing. We put our trash in at 10 to 15 foot lifts at a time. You can't put it in any more than that because then it's not stable. So you're building a lift, you're putting dirt on top of it, you're building a lift, you're trying to get to a level that you can start installing these before the trash starts to break down. Remember that hot summer day? Remember that 1 week that you forgot to put your trash out, how quickly that can happen sometimes, especially when it's hot. Wintertime, you don't see the maggots. Summertime, you do, right? And that's because of the temperatures. So the first 26 feet, we usually try to get to about 65 feet of trash before we can put wells in. That's kind of like the sweet spot for us, at least, as far as efficiency. So if our waste isn't high enough and it starts to break down and cook, we're not collecting that gas. So that's one of our challenges. I mentioned weather. Predicting when that gas is going to break down and how much it's going to actually produce is dependent on the weather. We had a very, very wet fall and winter. I mean, I feel like every 2 weeks we've had these like 2-inch rain events that really have been saturating trash, causes the breakdown faster. So the temperature and the weather and the amount of moisture we get controls that how the gas is going to produce throughout the year. So we have our gas curve that kind of gives us our long range plans, but we don't have something that really can model, week by week or month by month. So that's really where you're at the mercy of, is it going to be a wet spring? Is it going to be a wet fall? Is it going to be a dry fall? Is it going to be a hot summer? Is it going to be a hot fall? That's really where you're really trying to balance it. Some of the other things that we're dealing with on the challenge side that you really don't have control over is, I mentioned this before, but the development that's being developed off of Westcott Road there. 650 homes, less than 1,500 feet from our landfill. Just on the other side of the parkway. They cleared about 110 acres of trees. So similar to the 55 and older community that is also about 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet from our fence line, that was a zoning change. It was light industrial when we built our landfill, when the county commissioners decided that's going to be the site it's going to be at. And then 15 years later, the market was hot. 2003, 2004, market was hot. They changed the zoning in Absecon, and now there's 125 homes there. It's a challenge. It's no surprise that landfills have some kind of odor. Wastewater treatment plants have odor. Pig farms have odor. I keep saying those are my two things, but we all love to make our trash disappear. We all love to flush the toilet and make sure that everything goes down the drain. And we all love bacon and pork when it comes to breakfast and Easter, right? So these are the necessities that we have to have. But again, some of the things out of our control, that 110 acres coincides with some of this odor getting a lot further than we had originally had seen it. It's a wind tunnel. Yes, it comes up the landfill, it comes down. I mean, it is blowing right through there and heading up to Smithville. Never seen that. So again, this is something we can't control. We are, working on, again, the additional gas, but again, some of these challenges that we're faced with that we either have control over, that happen on a daily basis or weekly or monthly or yearly basis, they're constantly evolving. I was talking to Commissioner, previous Chairman Formica about it, and he's like, hey, your site's constantly evolving. I said, yeah, that's 100%. What we're doing today may not work 2 years from now, or may not work, or what we did 2 years ago may not work today. So the site is almost like a construction site constantly evolving. And then the last thing on the challenge side, so I'm gonna get to my timeline next, I know I wanna make sure I'm explaining everything now, is I mentioned compliance versus detection. So our fence line, Commissioner Ballas, is at 30 parts per billion. Does that mean you can't smell it if we're below 30 parts per billion? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The human nose can detect hydrogen sulfide at 0.5. Most people, some people. Some people have more sensitive noses, some people don't have a sensitive nose. So 0.5 is where the human can detect hydrogen sulfide, and our regulatory limit is 30. So when I was speaking at Absecon, I said, stop worrying about what the meter says. Stop worrying about if we're in compliance or not. We are in compliance, but that's not resolving your issue. Your issue is a smell. And that's unique to everybody in this room that we're gonna try to address, but I don't want people to get so hung up on, what's the meter say? Can you put a meter here? You're not gonna see anything. You know, Mayor Capola and Galloway was talking about with, I think their OEM or their Public Works, using their meter. It's a confined space meter, not gonna to pick up the detail and the sensitivity that you're gonna need, and you're not gonna see anything that far out. Again, but it doesn't invalidate you smelling something. Just means we're in compliance. So now going through our timeline on what's happened, where we're going, and what improvement we've seen, and where we can kind of continue to see some stuff is, the landfill is under what's called an NSPS regulation, so it requires a quarterly surface emissions monitoring report. And there's actually a report in your packets, the full report. That's the one thing that's not on the slide, but I think the next slide does have the mapping. Oh, no, that's the compliance part of it, I'm sorry. I skipped a slide there. So again, we talked about compliance versus odor. This is our history for the year. This line up here is where our regulatory, 30 parts per billion. This is where we've been. Does that mean nobody smelled it? No. No, it just means we've been in compliance, right? Two different things, compliance versus detection, two different things. We're trying to solve the detection problem. We don't have a compliance issue. The next slide, but I thought we were looking at is the surface emissions. So it's the SEM report. This is done on a quarterly basis, again by a third-party engineer, not engineers on site as far as A2A staff. This is done, and that path looks very, very busy. It's 479 points, along with another 179, I think is in the slide, of penetrations. So this is what they do, and they monitor on a quarterly basis that goes to the EPA and goes to the DEP. This is the report, the one you have in your packet, and the summary. Oh, there it is, 469 and 179. We had 4 exceedances out of, I don't know, 700 points. That's pretty good. And that's monitoring for methane. Methane is odorless, but methane is the most part, the highest portion of a landfill gas makeup. It's also one of the most impactful greenhouse gases, and that's why they're kind of monitoring it. But again, out of over 700 data points, we had 4. And then what we have to do is we have to address those within 10 days. So, and this was the quarter 4 of 2023 was done October 26th. So from all accounts, in October, we were in really good shape. We had landfill gas wells scheduled to be installed at the end of November. That work started in July. We put a bid out for 15 vertical gas wells. Remember, vertical gas wells are your key to collecting landfill gas. Started in July. Contract went into place in October. Contractors started to mobilize. They got on site December, second week of December. From December till about the first week of January, that's where we really started to see a high production of landfill gas. We didn't have the wells in yet. We saw a peak right around that week of Christmas and New Year's, and that was the worst week we probably could have had. And timing-wise, it's cold, everything's kind of lying low, but we didn't have those wells in. The wells started to go in December 14th. In that time, as they're installing wells, we also had a drone survey done where they're actually able to run a path similar to that and look at the surface for hydrogen sulfide. This is methane, they're looking for hydrogen sulfide. Based off the existing operation and existing conditions, we saw like 4 or 5 spots that we wanted to address right away with a contractor on site. Since they were mobilized, we added another 4 wells on top of that. So we had 19 wells going in from December 14th until just about January 11th, which was the meeting we had with Absecon. So I think at that time we had just about every well in except for 1. Once they go in, they start to get connected. During that time frame, think about this. We're drilling holes in the landfill, in active trash, in trash that's been there for 6 years and trash that's been there for a year. As we're putting pipes in, we're creating these vents. So everybody's like, you're putting wells in, it's getting worse. What's happened? It's because that's part of the process. Until you get that thing connected, you start to actually experience more gas. So over the course of those 4 to 6 weeks, we got 19 wells in. We've gotten them all connected and we've gotten them tuned. So they have to actually, they install them and then they put a wellhead on them and then they have to tune them. They're checking them for oxygen, they're checking for methane, they're checking them for hydrogen sulfide. These have been continue to be tuned on a weekly, twice a week basis. We saw an increase in gas collection of over 32%. So not to bore you with numbers, but we were collecting about 1,900 SCFM. We're now collecting about 2,500 SCFM. That's a significant improvement in gas collection. Is it elimination? Absolutely not. We're not here to say that we've eliminated it. And in Absecon, when I was there on the 11th, they said, when's going to be the improvement? I said, you'll see improvement in weeks. You will not see an elimination. All right, so I want to be very clear about that. So again, now we're at January 11th. We have our gas wells in. We see an increase in the amount of gas we're doing, and we're still experiencing some of these spikes. So we have monitors across our entire landfill. We're able to kind of model things and see stuff on an instantaneous basis, and we're still seeing these. We're seeing a stretch in like gas collection, but then we're seeing these spikes that are kind of going up, over, down. They're not associated with nighttime. They're not associated with daytime. We're kind of all over the place. They're not correlating. They're kind of like really driving us nuts. And I'm staring at this data. We're all staring at this stuff. And about a week and a half ago, our third-party operator was looking at it as well and says it kind of looks like a pump. And one of our managers of the system also said it kind of looks like a pump. So what we theorized was it was our landfill cell pump stations that were drying out their sumps. So in each one of these landfill cells, there's like a straw that goes down and it pumps out the leachate. Leachate can't go into the ground, gets pumped out, sent to our treatment plant and treated. Think of a trap in your bathroom has that little slug of water to keep the gas from coming back. These were pumping down because part of our regulation is we can't have more than a foot of liquid on top of our liner. So we are pumping these things down and creating that gap and almost like burping that gas out. So on a Tuesday, we shut those pumps off to test it out. For a week straight, we didn't see a single peak go up. We saw one peak go up, and we attributed to one of our operators actually had run into a piece of a landfill gas well and put a hole in it. They capped it up so that, again, that's an operational thing that happens 115 wells across 102 acres, and you're trying to move a giant D8 or a compactor with trash, and it can be difficult. So we've started to kind of normalize that too. We're still not out of the woods. We're still getting a couple odor complaints here and there, but they're not very specific to a certain time. We got one last week, whereas the week before we may have gotten 10. So we're seeing a trend in the right direction. Again, I'll preface it, we're not seeing elimination, right? We're still working on it. Today, the latest update in our phasing for what we're doing is extending our header. So all of these pipes are connected to the 115 wells. They go back to a header, back to our flare station and our blowers. That's where the vacuum is pulled. And the main header going up that's designed based off of the gas curve is an 18-inch header. And it goes up to the top of the landfill. We're extending that all the way around the entire landfill because the bigger pipe we have, one, it's going to help us in the future to collect more gas as we continue to move around the landfill. But two, it's also going to create more efficiencies. So that pipe showed up today is 18-inch HDPE pipe. Actually, it's on the next slide, or I may have skipped through because I just keep talking. That's our increase in landfill gas. So you can see right around December, that's in your packet there. You see the jump up. That's the 4,500 SCFM that we're collecting now that we weren't collecting when we didn't have these wells. When we were in really bad shape, when we had some odors that were getting off site, that's the impact right there. That's the data. Data doesn't lie. The next slide is the pipe that showed up today. It was a nice morning to come into and see 2 tractor trailers loaded with this stuff because this stuff took about 2.5 months to get because 18-inch diameter HDPE pipe is very difficult to get. Our third-party contractor was able to track it down and get it here. It got delayed a little bit, but it showed up today and they're going to start installing that pipe. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And the last thing that I'm going to just go through is we're not done there. Again, we've seen a lot of improvement, but we're not done there. We're going to kind of continue to build out this with more pipelines. We're putting collection on our sumps. We have dewatering wells installed, so we think about all the rain we get. As the landfill fills with water, those pipes get clogged up with water, we have to pump them out. We're putting new style dewatering wells in there. And the two really big things that I try to kind of note on that are complete game changers. One is a 16-acre permanent cap of the section that is closest to the Absecon area. Comes around the side, we finish filling in there, we're gonna cap 16 acres of that. That's really gonna help. We have the gas collection now. If we didn't have the gas collection, we'd have a giant balloon. So now we have the gas collection in those areas, and we filled up to what our permit is right now. We're gonna cap 16 acres of that. That's gonna go out to bid probably early summer, so it's under design right now. The second big game changer is renewable natural gas. We broke ground, and Commissioner Risley was there to see, with partnership in South Jersey Industries, renewable natural gas. So we're going to take all this gas we're collecting, and instead of sending up to a flare, converting to CO2, we're going to clean it up even further and put it into a pipeline. It's the only project we've ever had that we've been able to say we're going to reduce on-site emissions by up to 95%. So there's no longer going to be there's going to be a flare there as a backup, but there's no longer going to be a burning of any gas on the site. Never been able to say that. It's going to be a significant improvement to the site. It's also helping us with a lot of the infrastructure we're doing right now.
Can I just ask a quick gas question? Okay, just, I don't think I caught it when you were talking about the gas well thing. So that's what we do with the gas, is we burn it? We don't
Yes.
give it to like South Jersey Gas? Like, I know that's a dumb question, but I don't know.
So South Jersey Gas used to be in partnership with us, and they'd run generators. So we had up to 3 generators there. We were producing 5.4 megawatts of electricity at one point. It was powering our park, and then they were selling it. The cost to maintain those generators, because the gas isn't all clean methane. There's other small constituents. There's hydrogen sulfide in there. There's other, again, parts of that make it very difficult for those engines to run clean. So over time, as they're rebuilding them, it's costing them a lot. It started to become, economically not feasible. So when RNG, we've been pushing RNG for 5 years now. So
Yeah,
they're
so
going to do
just
that.
so today we collect the gas in those well things.
Yep.
We convert it to CO2,
Yep.
and then you burn it.
Yep, and
That's
you burn
what,
it.
okay.
Yep.
Just want to be clear on what we're doing.
Yeah, and we're under kind of construction right now to take that gas and give it to SJI. Yep,
Okay.
it just has to be cleaned up.
Okay.
But that's a standard practice for any landfill gas. So even when we had the generators, we still had to have a flare there because it's a backup. If you ever go to Philadelphia International and you see the flares that are off of as you're starting to approach the scuba there, it almost looks like the woods are on fire. That's their treatment plant. They have digesters, and there's methane that's being built there, and they have to convert it to something. So
Matt, I know that Council President Nick La Rotunda had a town hall meeting. I attended it virtually. It was a long meeting, very intense, but it's very much appreciated. I know you've made a commitment to them to stay in touch and meet with them periodically to give these type of updates. I just felt it was important because we are getting quite a bit from our constituents, so we want to also have a feeling of what's going on, and we're going to keep it within our solid waste oversight committee, which now I'm going to defer to the chairman of that committee for any questions he may have, which is Mr. Jim Bertino.
So
Commissioner,
the one question I didn't answer yet was capacity, and let me know when you're ready for that, because
if you want to do it before the presentation, that's fine too, but right.
I didn't hear the answer to the first question as to when are the residents going to stop smelling
So
blood?
time frame. To say that they're ever going to stop, we're certainly in a much smaller, I guess, area right now. So closer residents are going to still continue to smell it, and we may have a hiccup here or there where it gets a little bit further. We're trying to draw that radius back in. So when I had mentioned to Council President La Rotunda that in a couple weeks we'll see some improvement, we did, but we didn't see the elimination. I think over the next 4 weeks we're going to see another big milestone where we're going to see. We've already seen those complaints go down. Again, we didn't see them eliminate, but we saw them go down significantly. There are certain people in the county that are starting to pot a little bit. There's some legal action that's been threatened by the community that's next to us. There's all sorts of things that are kind of happening too that we're aware of, that they want this issue to kind of continue on. So we're trying to really validate and devalidate which ones are real, which ones are not. So to give you an idea, two Fridays ago, we got about 16 odor complaints in the course of about 2 hours. And that came from Port Republic, came a lot from Galloway, Smithville, all over the place, more like Northwest. And like I said, we track everything, we have models, we have all these sensors, we're looking at it and going, the wind is 5 meters per second out of the north, opposite direction. Our meters aren't really good, this doesn't make any sense. And what we found was, somebody in the county had mentioned about odor, and on a Facebook page, we all love social media now, right? Posted a link to the ACUA site and said, it's the ACUA, file a complaint here. And we're seeing that in Brigantine, we're seeing that in Galloway, we're seeing that. So we're, again, not dismissing or invalidating what their concerns are, because there's people in Navajo Avenue that called us, and we go, yeah, we know. I just had a call from someone in Pleasantville who's on Newmark Avenue. I got to call her back after I get off here. We call everybody back within a couple hours, because we know those people that are close to our site are still experiencing the landfill. But again, we're trying to get a good gauge on where we're at, because we have seen improvement. So I would say in the next 4 weeks, you're going to see another, again, big hump of improvement to our site and bring that radius even further in. The couple issues we had, again, I had a call that I had to call somebody back after this meeting, was the other night. And she called and I looked at it and I said, yeah, there was an issue there. And what we found, there was a little change in vacuum that we had on our system, and the minute we increased it, it went away. A cause and effect doesn't take that away, but I can at least talk to her and explain that, hey, this is what happened, not say, hey, we're just not able to get that gas. So again, we're trying to be as proactive as possible. Our website, I've been directing a lot of the mayors and council to our website. We have a very robust site on updating what's happening at the landfill, daily, weekly updates if we need to. Actually, just got an email about 2 hours before I came to this meeting from a former college friend of mine who works for Monmouth County. So Monmouth County was a landfill run by the county, now run by Waste Management, having significant odor issues. And they said, man, I went to your website and it is awesome. Can I pick your brain a little bit on what you guys are doing and how you're managing it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Sure, finally somebody's looking for some tips on stuff. So Commissioner Gatto and Commissioner Chairwoman Kern, I'd say about 4 to 6 weeks you're going to see a significant improvement. The one other thing that's really been helping us too is the sun. Sun came out. We hadn't seen the sun in, I don't know, a couple of months it seemed like, and that holds a lot of these ceilings down, creates inversion, and it runs up, Absecon Creek and the reservoir, and that becomes a challenge too. So,
Okay,
so
I'm going to go to our Vice Chair, Regina.
Thank you. Matt, just a couple of quick questions for you. I'm looking at your GCCS design plan, and I see you know me, I talk to you about manifold system when I look at collections and all that. I use that analogy because it's easier for people to understand when you're laying all the piping.
yeah, absolutely.
As I look through a few of these, you have the existing areas where it is. Most of these things are proposed. They're not installed yet. Like you have stuff that are proposed for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 in the future. So at the present time, in those areas where you're not collecting any gas, is there a possibility that you have seepage or leakage, or whether it's vertical or horizontal? Because as you know, it can go either direction.
Right. So it's a little misconceiving, because there is gas collection in all those areas. The difference is you have remote connections and then you have permanent. And you put remote connections in, so you have a header that's a little bit further away, and you're running a longer, smaller line to those wellheads. And it's a network of pipes all over. And I mentioned one of the operators hit one of those pipes the other day, and it's because as we're bringing waste up, we can't put any permanent pipes in because we keep bringing the elevation and the landscape is changing. So what these phases are actually permanent installations.
After it reaches the
After,
height,
yep.
cap
So we're
it all.
collecting on these, but we'll be able to run a bigger pipe on the outside. We'll be able to drain, in the wintertime you get issues with condensation, clogging lines. So there's a much more efficient way once you're at capacity in some of those areas to bring in these bigger pipes to kind of come around. So that's the difference there, is they're all connected. It just, if they're
Smaller
connected by
network.
Yep, absolutely.
I guess from the other question, I guess just touch on what you just said. I thought that most of the elevations, you were already at peak along that landfill. Do you have more areas where you could add material up, or aren't you maxed out already in most of the landfill except for the new cells that you're working on along the sides?
So, that was one comment that kind of came up in Absecon, was the mountain keeps getting higher and higher. And it's like, no, the mountain hasn't gotten any higher since probably 94, 95, So our elevation cap is at 195. And I don't know if you can bring up like the one slide that looked like had the landfill with all the pipes and stuff on it. That's perfect. That one's perfect. Nope, the one before it. Oop. So it's almost like a triangle, and it's got a ridge on it. It's not like a flat box. It's got a ridge on it. So that ridge is where our max elevation is. So what we're filling right now is the outside slope of everything as it kind of comes around. So most of the area that we're in, yeah, we're kind of at the highest. We've been at the highest point, but as far as like looking over the 102 acres, we're pretty much all those spots at the highest, and we're just kind of filling these side slopes. That's what that mechanically stabilized earth wall that we just bid out, third phase of that, takes advantage of a side slope. So the angle comes in here, the wall goes up here, and I call it the cheese wedge. Takes a linear cheese wedge all the way around the outside of the landfill. So not really putting anything on top, putting it on the sides. And that's why I was kind of making that point that like just because we're at 145 at some spots doesn't mean that's where the gas is only coming from or not coming from. We're filling a lot of these side slopes, which is a much lower profile than just thinking that it's coming off the top.
I think, appreciate you coming in. You and I have had discussions when I call you on the telephone, asked the process, and I knew you, that's why we talked about the chairwoman, Kern said, let's get him in to discuss it so everybody can hear it, because we all aren't getting the phone calls, and I think what you're saying is, obviously, is what it is. There is gonna still be some smells. Nobody can tell you it's not gonna smell. It's in the permissible areas, so it's not a health issue. But we can't sit there and tell somebody you're not gonna smell anything coming out of the landfill. It's gonna get better, but it's never gonna be able to say, at this point in time, that it will stop until you put in the permanent infrastructure to try to capture a little bit, if that's the case. Am I putting words in your mouth?
Just a little bit. So you shouldn't smell it every day. You shouldn't smell it once a week. You know, it should be a rare occurrence and a very localized occurrence to smell landfill. You know, 1,000 feet from the landfill, again, it's, you know, when you look at gas curves, you're only collecting 85% or 80%. You're never going to collect 100% because of that oxygen concern. So I don't want to say that you're always going to smell landfill. You shouldn't. You shouldn't smell it every day. When you're on site and you drive around it, you're going to smell it, right? But what we were experiencing in December is not something you should experience, and that's what I'm working on, and that's the expectation that I'm hoping that everybody has is, okay, let's bring that ring of influence in and get it really localized, and the hiccups that we may have where somebody hits a pipe or we're installing new wells and we notify everybody, so we're trying to create like a text system too where we can notify and say, hey, we're drilling, we're doing some kind of activity, or we had an issue with a condensate pump that filled in or failed, and the flare went down, we couldn't collect gas for 6 hours, you may experience landfill, we can pinpoint it. That's responsible for, in my mind, that's what we should be doing. That's the community engagement, that's the communication that we should be pushing out, and that's the issues that we should be resolving. So that's what we're kind of getting to, in the next several weeks and months.
Just so if I can, Madam Chair, just a quick add-on question to that. So you said people shouldn't smell it regularly.
Mhm.
What's the difference day versus night though, because of uncapping at night?
So there's no such thing as uncapping at night. I've heard that now 3 times today. I don't know where that came from. So there's no cap at
Well,
nighttime.
doing the work that you do.
Right, but there's no change in work that we're doing from daytime to nighttime. So originally I thought that too. I'm like, okay, can we look at our monitors and try to say like, is there a correlation to nighttime? You know, because we do get a lot of odor complaints at nighttime, and I think the correlation to nighttime really is not the activity that's happening in the landfill, but think about when you go out at nighttime. Typically, it's very still. There's not a lot of wind unless you have one of these big wind events. So now what's happening to any gas that's not being collected is it's just kind of permeating and staying down. It's also cold at night. So that gas that's normally being able to evaporate is staying low and kind of traveling far. At nighttime, we're bringing our MSW trash out at night. That is not creating odor. That's not breaking down and creating hydrogen sulfide and creating methane. It takes weeks and months for that to happen. During the day, we're taking our C&D and bulky waste up. So we're still compacting waste, we're still covering waste, like there's still an operation there. And when we talk about caps, it's more of a temporary or permanent thing that's there for months and years and not like a daily thing. So we do have like but Commissioner Gatto, so one of the things that may have been confusing you and other people too is that there is a system where you can put a temporary tarp for daily cover over top of the landfill. There's really a lot of challenges with that. You know, one is when you're putting dirt in a soil cap, it's a much better seal. But think about, you know, the other night we had a really windy day and I was worried about my trash cans that were out in the field that were gonna come blow around. Imagine 11 o'clock at night, these guys that are on top trying to manage a tarp, you know, and ballasting it down and finding things, it's gonna be a giant sail. So it's a really difficult operation that we just try to avoid a little bit. But so I think that's where maybe some of the confusion was coming. But there's no like uncapping or recapping at nighttime, you know, between night and day operations.
I think what we're talking about is the material, the dirt you put on top, so many, you put what, 16 inches or 12?
It's got to be a 6-inch intermediate cover and a 12-inch.
On top, for every
yeah.
night you close at nighttime, so it's covered.
Or alternative daily cover. So it doesn't always have to be soil. It could be bulky waste. It could be
I think that was part of
compost material. Yeah.
with the birds when you originally did the land,
Yep.
we had to have it covered because of the birds and all that. With the
Yep.
airport and stuff, so it wouldn't attract.
Yeah. So an hour before sunup, we have to have it covered because of the concern of the birds and the proximity to the airport. We just had another bird meeting. We fly somebody in from Canada. We have FAA, USDA, and NJDEP meet with our on-site bird biologists that we have there 7 days a week. And in all accounts, actually, they shut down the number of meetings we have. So we were doing 4 a year, we're doing 3 a year now because things have been going so well. Not just our site, but off-site as well.
First of all, Matt, I want to thank you for responding to any constituent concern that I sent your way. I mean, you've gone, you know, as far as I'm concerned, maybe above and beyond to continue to go back and forth with them. But I think some of the concern is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so you're saying some of the reason the smell has gotten worse is because you're trying to address some of the concerns so it doesn't get worse in the future by drilling the wells and, because that's one of the concerns, why all of a sudden is it worse than it's ever been? None of the complaints I have, they are nice. I'm glad that some of the collection volume and times are different up there, evening and morning. But I know some mornings I come out at 5:30, 6 o'clock in Smithfield, and it's like, wow, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never smelled that before until, you know, December or just fairly recently. So I guess what they're trying to, I guess, grasp is why is it worse now?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and everyone wants to have a very like simple. They want a simple problem and a simple solution. And there really isn't, but what I'll say to simplify as much as possible, it was a missed target. And what I mean by that is we had wells that were planning to go in. We started in July to develop those for the end of November. We had a wet fall. Trash started to break down quicker. The works are already there, but you're about 6 weeks behind now in getting those wells installed, again, because we have to have a certain height. So you're trying to plan that months in advance. And sometimes it's a 4 to 6 week process where all of a sudden you're like, they should have been in 4 weeks ago. You know, the contractor got delayed a couple weeks. So that's, in my mind, really the biggest part of not capturing that gas. The second part is how it's getting so far, especially like Smithville, those trees. I mean, those trees were providing a huge buffer for us. You know, and it's just sweeping across that area, right across the parkway, right up to, you know, Fawn's Landing or Smithville or up into Galloway. Like it's a real thing, you know. But I think Commissioner Dave, really, it's a matter of we were about 6 weeks off on that, and that becomes, you know, a tough 6 weeks, especially when you have those temperatures. Like if it was the summertime, it probably wouldn't have been as bad or exasperated, but because it was the wintertime, cold, low ceilings, inversion, I mean, I don't know how many foggy days we had in a row, but I just wanted to see the sun, you know, at some point. But that just really kind of holds it down to the surface and lets it run. And we're right by the reservoir. We're where a lot of low-lying areas because it is heavier than air, and it starts to kind of runs up the parkway, runs up the reservoir, and Absecon Creek area. So.
I just want to, so since the meeting in Absecon, the new dewatering wells, was that discussed then? So I was just trying to clarify exactly what is new.
Where we're at, yeah. So from that meeting, we had installed the wells. They are, they've been tuned, and they've been all connected too. So installing the well doesn't necessarily mean it's collecting gas. You have to get the remote pipelines and everything there. So they've all been done, and now we're in the second phase of that, which is that 18-inch header that came in today. The dewatering wells are probably a April endeavor.
That's the leachate that was being pumped, where you would see those the changes. Is that
Yes. So no, I'm sorry. So we're going to manage those pumps a little bit differently. Those are going to go in where we're going to collect on those pipes probably in the next couple of weeks. Once we get this header in, we're able to actually get collection and vacuum to them. So that'll happen sooner than those dewatering wells. What the dewatering wells do is those 115 wells, as it rains, the landfill collects water and they start to fill in with water. So those holes get covered with water, and then we're not able to collect as much gas or as efficient. So what those dewatering wells are going to do is they're like submersible pumps, just like you have in your house if you have a well, and they pump that water out and keep that collection as efficient, as high production as possible. So that'll be probably an early spring once they get this 18-inch header in.
I just wanted to again clarify, for the public, why you said in the next 4 to 6 weeks we should see even greater improvement. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and like I said, if anybody, I appreciate your compliment on the responding to constituents. I've done that for anybody that I can. I direct them to our site again, because I understand that, you guys are sitting up there and don't have the information. And the same thing in Absecon, where they don't have the information, and I don't want anybody to get the wrong information, So constantly directing them to us, we'll manage it. We've reached out to every single person. They don't all answer the phone. Actually, I was at somebody's house 2 weeks ago in Galloway that called and said, "Hey, I smelled this morning. I hopped in my car, drove out, and I gotta see this. It's not making sense." Called her. She was at work, and it wasn't that morning. It was a couple of days prior, and for some reason she decided there was a Facebook post that had a link. She decided to call that. So it was like, okay, but we're responsive. We're making sure that people have the information.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just have I guess a couple of questions and a couple of comments. So I don't want to be considered a question or not, but I think that 100 acres of trees coming down. I mean, trees they naturally take carbon dioxide out of the air and clean it, and I think that's what was happening a lot, from where you're located to where the trees were taken down. And it seems as though I don't think it's a coincidence that once the trees came down, that smell started, being a lot worse. I don't think it's the wind blowing, through open land now and blowing that smell out of HUA, because I go to HUA a lot and it doesn't smell bad when you're on your property. Mm-hmm. But if you go to Fire Road, which is, could be half a mile away from your property, that's where you get the smell. It's just like, if, when we were talking about the fence and how high it is, and, you're saying that, this chemical is heavy and comes down to the ground. Well, think of any beach community. Sand is heavy. Sand is heavier than air, right? Mm-hmm. I would say, right?
Yeah.
But if you go 3 blocks or 4 blocks from the beach where the sand is, you're going to find that sand on the windows, in their screens at their property, because the wind blows and it takes it up over the houses and it carries it for blocks. So that's the same thing I would think that's happening there, that smell or chemical or whatever that is, that sulfide is making its way out, because the wind's going to blow and it's going to carry it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You're in compliance with what DEP tells you to do, and you take your reading here. Would it be any worse a mile away? Probably not, but it just smells worse.
So to give you a sense of that, we actually did that,
Mm-hmm.
just to test that theory out. So Westcott Road gets a significant amount of odor. You got a lot of prevailing southwest winds, and that's why you don't smell it on our site in the front, because the prevailing wind is actually going the other direction. And we were looking at our meters, and we saw it wasn't a spike, but we're just curious, what does that dilution look like? Dilution of concentration on the landfill versus at the fence line versus on Westcott Road, right where the overpass is, just past where they did the clearing. And it was down to, I think it was like a 1.5 or 2.2 ppb. So when we were looking at a fence line monitor of, not a fence line, I'm sorry, of a meter on our site, we were like a 50 or 60. Again, this is right on the landfill, right on the site. How does that look further down? We know our fence line is fine. We know that's below 30, but what does it look like further out? And it does. It's just it's diluting it.
It's dissipating.
Yeah, it's dissipating. Yep.
So
So those trees definitely are pushing it, but you got to think too, is the wind that's coming across. you're not gonna smell on that side, you're gonna smell in the other direction as that's kind of coming through. And the same thing too, you're kind of creating a free avenue for that wind to come across on the other side too and get further out. And that's, absolutely.
Okay, so question, because this landfill started 30-some years ago, that's when the liner was put down.
Yep.
And everything was started. Is there any way, or is there any monitoring that you do that you're for sure that liner has not been penetrated and nothing is going into
Yep.
the ground?
Yep, so just as a precautionary, that area is contaminated. There's no well water in that area. Price's Pit 1 is the big contamination in Pleasantville. We're actually on Price's Pit 3. And before we put that site there, we had to clean it up more before we were able to put a site there. There's groundwater monitoring, there's gas migration monitoring that's done on a regular basis on that site to monitor the plumes that were there already and make sure there's no additional concentrations that we have there. There's also, again, the requirements to keep that liquid off the liner, but you're really able to monitor those plumes, and that's how you monitor any contamination. The airport has a ton of contamination from all the foams and stuff they use in the firefighting. That's how they monitor it. They put these wells in down gradient, and that's how they're doing Price's Pit right now. They're looking at it down gradient, and they're checking for concentration. So that's done on a regular basis. And then when they actually put the landfill cell in, so we don't decide what the liner looks like, what the material is, that's a regulation that says, hey, we've done all this testing to make sure it's gonna last the test of time. But when they put that liner in, we have to hire so we have 2 consultants. We have a third-party QA consultant, which is a quality assurance. They work for the DEP that oversees the third-party quality control inspector that does destructive testing, does all sorts of stuff, and then they put a copper line in the bottom of that thing, and it looks like something out of a Star Trek movie, but they come across and they make sure there's not a single pinhole in that entire liner. They have headphones on, they walk the sand layers. It's a really kind of bizarre thing to see. But they do a leak detection on that as well. The liner is also made up of a primary and secondary. So the primary has, in between the primary and secondary, is what's called a bentonite mat. And it's bentonite clay. If it gets wet, it swells up. So if something was to penetrate it, it would swell up and seal that hole. There's a secondary layer, does the exact same thing. So there's all these precautions that they have just in case there is a penetration. And then there's also a monitoring system that allows us to make sure that we're not contaminating any further the groundwater. And that's really been, I'll rag on New Jersey DEP a lot for the amount of regulation that we have in New Jersey. I say they're racing, California and who can regulate the most, but that is one of the good things that did come out of it. We don't have the stories of Price's Pit anymore where they're dumping millions of gallons of toxic waste in unlined landfills. So that's really been an improvement to everybody here in this room and what we can enjoy and not worry about contamination, drinking water. We're all worried about cancer, but again, we can eliminate landfills as one of the causes of it. So,
Right. I mean, that's just a question I've gotten a lot, is what you're putting in there, making it down into the groundwater.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not far away from, the reservoir, which is the reservoir for Atlantic City's water.
right.
Yeah.
No, there's a ton of monitoring, and again, that's, people want to put landfills in like simplistic terms. I just take my stuff to the dump and bury it in a hole. It's a lot more complex than that. There's a lot of, again, fail-safes and foolproof stuff that we have to do. A lot of inspection when the thing goes in. It is a very highly regulated thing for our benefit. And again, it's one of those things that has been helpful for New Jersey residents.
Any other commissioner? Okay, we're gonna let you proceed.
On the capacity? All right, capacity. I'll try to be quick because I've been taking a lot of time, and this was supposed to be a short meeting, so.
Yeah, sorry.
So capacity, I presented to this board back in November when we did our budget hearing. I also presented the SWAC in April, and I presented this information to every single one of the municipalities from the Monday after Thanksgiving all the way until about the second week of December. So every municipality has heard this speech, but I'm going to make sure that it's here on the record as far as the information we have. Our landfill has a 5-year capacity as currently permitted. January 2029. We have an annual topo, or annual report, that's done every single year by a third-party engineer. We just awarded that contract at our last meeting. ARM Group has it this time. French and Perot had it the year before. They'll do their topo, and they'll give us our calculation. It could change. It could be December 2028. It could be May of 2029. It's pretty close, so we anticipate about 5 years of capacity. we're instituting a 3-pronged approach, and this is what I kind of went through with you guys back in November. The first one is what I call our ripcord. If I sit back, put my feet up, I probably won't have a job, but if I do that and do absolutely nothing, we continue to fill this landfill as we are right now, and January 2029 comes and we've done nothing, we'll do what we did when this site was originally permitted. And this is a story from my predecessor, but our site was not designed to handle the waste of Atlantic County when it was first permitted. It was an interlocal agreement with Mercer County. They were building an incinerator, and we were building a transfer station. That's why we actually have a transfer station on site. If you have a landfill on site, why would you have a transfer station? It doesn't make any sense. Our transfer station was built in the early 90s. We were going to transfer all of our waste in Atlantic County, send it to Mercer County, and in return, we were going to get Mercer County's vegetative waste, and we were going to backhaul the ash. That's what the landfill was going to originally be used for, ash. And then it was open as a C&D landfill. Mercer County never built that incinerator. I was actually at that site about 3 weeks ago. They have a waste digestion site there. It's called Trenton Biogas. So from the course of 1992 to 1998, we disposed of our C&D waste in our landfill, and we couldn't do our household garbage because of the proximity to the airport. We were concerned about the airport. So from 1992 to 1998, we transferred all of our waste over to Groves Landfill in PA. That was because that's how that site was designed. The intersection was realigned. Dowdy Road, anybody that's been with the county knows that Dowdy Road was completely realigned. Dual lanes, there was 4 lanes on Delilah Road there because of that facility. Routes for where the trucks are gonna go, where they can't go, and coming in and having the ability to queue 30 trucks, tractor trailers up to that scale and not be sticking out. And we still stick out on some days. So on a Monday at 11 o'clock when everybody's, after a holiday weekend or whatever it may be, you'll see that traffic can be backed up pretty close. There's 26, 27 cars or tractor trailers backed up from that scale. If you've ever been to our facility, the scale's pretty far down. So the site was designed to be a transfer station. So our ripcord, if we do nothing, is transfer it out. And we bid this out twice. We opened it up to any private hauler. They could transfer the waste out. We did it twice. The second time we kind of learned from some feedback from the haulers. We opened bids the first week of July. It was actually my first week on the job by myself. We opened these bids and we got some really good bids. Hainesport Transport, which is out of Burlington County, Waste Management, and Republic, 3 biggest waste haulers in the area. Pricing was really good. The low bid was actually Waste Management. They were going to send the waste to Delaware. Cost effective. The challenge was we have 5 years left of capacity. So we were only going to transfer about 500 tons a day as opposed to 1,500. So the nighttime landfill operation, the transfer station, the heavy iron, the maintenance, the people, the gas, the diesel, all that stuff still had to be paid because whether I'm disposing 1,500 tons or 1,000, I still have an operation. It's not, you can't just scale it down. So the operational cost wasn't going away. So the cost to transfer that waste out, the portion of it before we closed, wasn't economical. We weren't seeing a savings. It was a direct expense. So, okay, we had that, put it on the shelf. Let's start evaluating some other things. The second thing was evaluating our site and can we optimize what we have. There's not going to be another landfill built in Atlantic County. There's not going to be another landfill built in New Jersey. There's probably not going to be another landfill built in most of the Northeast. The Northeast is starved for space. DEP regulation is very, very difficult to get anything approved right now, especially a landfill. Nobody wants a landfill in their backyard. So can we optimize our site? We're bound by the parkway, wetlands, and another form of wetlands where we really don't have a lot of space. We're not in Cumberland County, we're not in Caton County where we have 80 years of capacity, we have 5. Can we look at our triangle and try to make it a little bit rounder, grab a couple acres here or there to make our MSC wall that we have now extend a little bit? We're looking at that right now. And that, on the concept side, we're looking at close to 8 years, 9 years we can grab from just, again, rounding some of these corners, grabbing a couple. That'll get us 15 years of capacity. I think everybody can go, okay, we're breathing, right? So that's prong number 2. Prong number 3 is our waste conversion, our pie in the sky. And I'm not going to sit here with rose-colored glasses on, but our pie in the sky is we can't keep burying our waste in the ground. It's archaic. And nobody knows the landfills are there until you smell it, right? Nobody knows the landfill is there until somebody's sick. Burying our trash in the landfill is archaic. So trying to find a technology, and since I've been with the organization for 16 plus years, this is what we've been chasing. Technology has changed significantly, In August, we put out an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications under what's called the McEnroe Act. We vetted out several different proposals. We shortlisted 3. We awarded them a shortlist or selected vendor in December, and we're now developing what's an RFP, which is the second step of that process, which will allow us to contract and negotiate with the vendor. So, am I optimistic about it? Sure, but do I think it's going to be a home run? No. Again, we've been going through this process for 15 years. I'm not, again, sitting here thinking that we're going to have this, whiz-bang solution, but it's direction that we're heading, and we're seeing now some of these plants go up. So there was just an article, a $150 million plant in Oregon was just broken ground on for exactly what we're thinking we can do at our site. I bring up Juno, which is a Georgia Pacific company that has a pilot facility that's been operating for 3 or 4 years. They're interested. There's a project in Kent County, Michigan, doing the exact same thing. And these are areas that have giant land masses. They can ship it to Michigan, can ship it to Ohio. Again, we've got to do better with how we're disposing of our waste. So that's the third problem. And there's variations in between that. I mentioned Trenton Biogas. So if we can't take all of our waste, throw it in a black box and have rainbows and sunshine come out the other end of it, we're going to look at trying to pull out portions of that. So Trenton Biogas has been doing a really good job of taking all the food waste, all the wet waste that creates a lot of this gas, and pulling it out of the stream, or again, having source separated stuff. We have casinos that would be obligated to bring it to us, putting it in a digester, creating more of that natural gas that we can give to South Jersey Industries, create revenue, which will keep our tip fees the lowest in the state like they've been in our track record. That's a variation of, again, that waste conversion. So 3 prongs with a lot of different variations in between that we've got many irons in the fire. So we have a very comprehensive and aggressive plan to make sure that we have the ability to dispose of Atlantic County's waste in one form or another and keep it the system that everybody's come to love and enjoy. Because I will say we do one thing right, and that is customer service and collecting our trash. We get complaints about missed stops and you broke my can, but we got a lot of compliments from people in every single municipality about what a great job our guys do, and that speaks volumes to what our staff does. We just celebrated 2 guys at the landfill, 3 guys at the landfill that found somebody's dog. It was running up and down the access ramp in the middle of the night. This isn't daytime landfill. In the middle of the night, Baker Articulate jump. They stop and pick up the dog, and if there's a tag on it, they call them. Another one of our drivers in Brigantine helped somebody that was a motorist that broke down. That's the ACWA difference that we are constantly trying to push in the services that we provide. So again, and think of the ACWA as not one thing, it's a comprehensive solid waste system.
I just have one question on that, if I can. So I understand the multi-prong approach, and I appreciate you breaking that down. I don't know that any of this technology, though, that you're banking on is going to come that quickly.
Nope.
Okay.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
is there going to be an amendment to the solid waste plan so that if and probably when we do need to take it out of county, we can? Because I think we can't right now, based on the waste plan.
Right, so any change that we do, correct, we would have to do an amendment to the solid waste plan. Anything we do, whether it's technology that's ready in a year, which that's not going to happen. It's a 5 to 7 year. It's a long-term play. 5 to 7 year plan. Do we have a bridge like we did in '92 to '98 that maybe we transfer some waste? Cape May County is interested in our waste. I know that's been dispelled as they don't want it. They figured out they have 80 to 90 years left of capacity in our landfill, and they're not going to use that. We're not going to be burying our trash in 80 years. So they see it as an asset that they're not going to utilize. So they don't want all of our trash. I'll correct that. They don't want all of our trash. They want a portion of it. They figured out what that portion is that'll offset their recycling costs and not increase their operational cost. And that's the number they want. So again, that's a variation of what we could do. But yes, absolutely, it would need a solid waste amendment plan that we would have to go to SWAC first, and then it would come to this board for approval for anything we do, whether we're transferring something out, whether we're creating a food waste digester, or something in between, the landfill capacity expansion. So, I wouldn't be standing up here if we had 20 years of capacity of landfill, right? I mean, that's really the perfect solution. Amidst the odors, and we're not going to go towards any kind of optimization or expansion until we have this situation under control. We would just foolish to even try to do something like that. So, But it all does come to you. So it goes through SWAC and then comes to this board, and then to the DEP.
Okay, and I just want to continue saying we do have the solid waste oversight committee, and we're going to stay very involved in what is going on moving forward. And again, I know you're going to stay involved with the municipalities that have, are affected so much. And, so, thank you.
Thank you. I hope I answered everybody's questions thoroughly.
There'll be more.
I get a little
with
passionate
that.
about this too, so
Yeah.
so I appreciate the time and allowing me to kind of explain everything. It's very much appreciated. And if you guys have questions afterwards, please reach out directly, or if you have a constituent that has a question, we're here.
Don't go anywhere.
Quick. But you used to talk for a whole hour straight.
I need a drink. Can I get enough this water in that?
Y'all talked the poor man to death. Good job, though.
If you want to hang around, if anybody has any questions, it will be brought up in the public portion of the
Yep. Sure
We went
is.
to the Ernest Fortune School for
Well, actually, I'm only 15 minutes filibuster, but I mean, it's good information.
Thank you, Commissioner Corsi. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Okay, that brings us into okay, so it's going to bring us to ordinance 1.
Ordinance amending County Code Chapter 97 entitled Parks concerning John F. Gaffney Green Tree Golf Course, final reading.
second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any other comments from the commissioners? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Bertino,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. That brings us to our grants with resolution 59, please.
Grant application and acceptance from the New Jersey Juvenile Justice Commission for the State Community Partnership and Family Court Grant Funding, amount not to exceed $654,836.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Bertino,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 60, please.
Grant application and acceptance from the Schools and Libraries Division of the Universal Service Administrative Company for the E-rate program, amount not to exceed $177,750.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 61, please.
Grant application and acceptance from the United States Department of Justice through the State of New Jersey, Department of Law and Public Safety for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant, funded amount $79,321, county in-kind match $3,411.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. We're into our professional services agreements with Resolution 63, please.
Madam Chair, 62.
Oh, sorry, 62. Thank you.
Still thinking about the 7 please.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Grant application and acceptance from the State of New Jersey Department of Education State Library for the 2024 per capita state library aid funds, amount not to exceed $117,932.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Corsi? Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. That brings us to Resolution 63.
Professional services agreement with various firms for the provision of environmental consultant services, amount not to exceed $150,000.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing hearing none, anything from the public? Okay, well, roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 64.
Supplementing Resolution Number 701, adopted on December 19, 2023, a professional services agreement to add John Strawn as a vendor to provide substance abuse services for the 12-hour and 48-hour intoxicated driver resource center programs, no additional cost.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, second by Commissioner Bertino. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Patino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 65, please.
Professional services agreement with PharmaCare Incorporated to provide pharmaceutical consultant services for Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, amount not to exceed $30,200.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ballas, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Patino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. We're under our competitive contracts, starting with Resolution 66, please.
Amending Resolution Number 330, adopted on June 20th, 2023, a competitive contract with Center for Family Services for the operation of Family Success Centers to reflect a cost of living adjustment net increase $39,208.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Parker. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 67, please.
Amending Resolution Number 565, adopted on October 17, 2023, a competitive contract with Atlantic Care Behavioral Health for the operation of a Family Success Center to reflect a cost of living adjustment that increased $20,441.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Parker. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Our bid contracts start with Resolution 68.
Renewal bid contract with Action Uniforms for the provision of uniforms for the members of the Atlantic County Justice Facility, amount not to exceed $94,500.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ballas, seconded by Commissioner Days. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 69, please.
Renewal bid contract with Action Uniforms for the provision of uniforms for the Atlantic County Sheriff's Office and Office of Emergency Management, amount not to exceed $73,200.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Risley. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Change orders start with Resolution 70.
Change order number 2, a contract with Think Pavers Hardscaping Limited Liability Company for the resurfacing of Old Tilton Road, County Route 687 in Egg Harbor Township and the City of Pleasantville, net increase $120,329.49.
Move. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. We have our leases with Resolution 71.
Lease agreement with Halawasa Incorporated for use of facilities to conduct 48-hour intoxicated driver resource center programs, amount not to exceed $32,250.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Corsi, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Our miscellaneous, start with Resolution 72, please.
Amending Resolution Number 434, adopted on August 2nd, 2022, a shared services agreement with the City of Margate for snow removal and street sweeping services, net increase $1,800.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bertino, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 73, please.
Amending Resolution Number 63 adopted on February 7, 2023, an opioid contract with Atlantic Care for the Bridge Hospital Emergency Room Drug Rehabilitation Program to extend the term date only, no additional cost.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Days. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Patino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey? Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 75.
74.
74.
Interlocal agreement with the Atlantic County Improvement Authority through its consultant Triad Associates for the provision of grant writing services, amount not to exceed $30,000.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Risley. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Patino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 75.
Alternate method contract with Capital Health for the provision of various medical services to inmates at the Atlantic County Justice Facility, amount not to exceed $51,000.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Gallo. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 76.
Memorandum of Agreement with Genesso authorizing a formal written collective bargaining agreement incorporating the terms of the MOA for a 4-year period commencing January 1, 2022.
Move. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ballas, seconded by Commissioner Parker. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey? Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 77, please.
Alternate method contract with Testa Heck, Testa and White, PA, to provide legal services for areas of labor law, amount not to exceed $250,000.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Patino, seconded by Commissioner Risley. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 78.
Agreement with various vendors for library goods and services, amount not to exceed $685,000.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Seeing here none, anything from the public? Okay, well, roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 79.
Alternate method contract with various firms to act as interim special counsel to provide legal services for certain land use matters, amount not to exceed $250,000.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Risley. Any commissioner comments?
Madam Chair, thank you. Yeah, this for Jimmy, I think this is what we talked about for the Tony, replacing Tony Pagano.
That's correct.
Yeah, if you could just touch on it.
Yeah, Mr. Pagano handled what I refer to as land use matters, but obviously it encompasses a number of different things. He was counsel for the different boards like the Ag Board, the Development Review Committee, and other agencies, and also represented and handled cases for the Division of Public Health. He was out on medical leave, and his situation is such that Tony has decided, unfortunately for us, to retire effective April 1. And due to the volume of the work involved and the variety of the work involved, it's something that, although I can do some of it and know some of it, I certainly don't know it, don't have the skill set in that he did. And I don't have anybody in the office right now who's capable of doing this work. And we have to go out for it. It's important work. We have a lot of projects that the county's involved in. Things varied as much as the Lake Lenape project to other projects that are on the drawing board here in the county. And so we need competent counsel to handle this. Due to the nature of it, when I thought Tony was going to be able to come back from his medical leave, we thought that we would be able to get by for the few months that he was expected to be out. Now that he's not coming back, We did not have time to go out and do a typical request for proposal process. I approached various firms. Tony, in fact, made arrangements to have the Development Review Committee covered by Lady Shirley Grasso, who's from the Hamilton area. I know Jim, you, Commissioner Bertino probably knows her very well. She's very competent. She's filled in and done 2 meetings already, and the people out there who handle that really like her, like what she's done. The other firm, 2 other firms we reached out to, the Nemad Davis and Goldstein firm from Egg Harbor Township. They do a significant amount of land use work of various types, and they're prepared to step in to represent like the Ag Board and some of the other boards that Tony used to cover. And then we also have Joel Fleischman, who's an attorney, local attorney from Linwood. Anything that would involve potential bonding and things like that, Joel specializes in that and does a lot of transactional work. So the idea would be to split the work up. The Nemad Davis firm would do the Construction Board of Appeals, the Atlantic County Agricultural Development Board, and the Atlantic County Division of Public Health. Shirley will cover primarily the Planning Advisory Board and the Development Review Committee, and then Joel Fleischman would fill in where necessary. Very, very competent attorneys all, and we will be able to keep things on track and keep projects and things moving. So that's my recommendation to you, the board, that this resolution should be approved so I can reach out, have meetings with these folks, and get them working as soon as possible. So,
Thank you, Mr. Curtis.
thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. Jim, with these 2 resolutions, like $500,000, is there going to be a reduction in staff in your office, or this is just
Well,
on top of?
last year at this time, myself included, I had 8 attorneys in the office. With myself, we're down now to 6 attorneys. And that's a big gap. I mean, the labor work that the Testa firm will be doing. People think that labor, all that involves is going to and conducting negotiations. There's a lot more involved in that. There's the negotiation process, there's the drafting of the contracts, there's handling of grievances that are brought up. The labor attorney has traditionally done the disciplinary matters when we discipline employees, and takes a lot of time. I've been handling that, but doing that and trying to run the office and everything, it's just too much. I had a couple good people, as you know, for years. We had Jennifer Starr, who came before this board on numerous occasions. She was terrific. She left about almost 2 years ago now. A fellow by the name of Joe Moore was hired. Was doing a great job for the 9 months he was with the county, but then went to the prosecutor's office. We did look to see if we could hire somebody to bring in-house. I was even contemplating hiring somebody who might be fairly new out of law school or early in their careers and bringing them in and training them. But as some of you know, I have plans to retire at some point this year. I was hoping it would be June 30th. The executive has asked me to stay on, and I'm not going to leave him high and dry, so I will stay on for a while, but I don't intend to be here a year from now. So, we needed to get somebody to do this work because there simply wasn't time for me to bring somebody in new and train them. So that's where we are.
And the bottom line is we really can't attract with what we pay an attorney.
For a good labor attorney, commissioner who, really knows their stuff, you'd probably be looking at a minimum of $125,000 plus the benefit package on top of that. I mean, that's just what the market, and that might even be light. I mean, that's just what the market is.
Yeah, and again, the follow-up on Mr. Gatto, it's cheaper than $250, $125. I think.
Well, yeah, but
I hear you, Jim, and I hear
Hell, we can't find attorneys. We
I
go
know.
all over the place. You can't find attorneys. Right? This area, whether they're out of law school, in the practice, you can't find them. I mean, hell, our minimum is 100. We can't get them.
I know, you're absolutely right, absolutely right. So that's where
In
we are.
fact, most of y'all think y'all practicing attorneys up anyway. Y'all might be in the running for the job. Including me sometimes.
So, again, all of that is for your consideration. I, hope that you'll approve the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Any other comments from the commissioners? Anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 80, please.
Appointment of Basan K. Gupta to the Atlantic County Cultural and Heritage Advisory Board for a term to expire on July 31st, 2027.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ballas, seconded by Commissioner Risley. I just want to say that, as always, I would just like to extend my thanks to Mr. Gupta for his service to our county, for the role he plays in both the Atlantic County Cultural and Heritage Advisory Board, and also as a philanthropic and community leader. Our county is lucky to benefit from his many talents and passions. Any other commissioners' comments?
I look
Okay.
forward to working with him on the committee.
Great man.
Yes, very committed to our county, so, okay, well, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution 81, please.
Resolution supporting the Hamilton Township Board of Education's pursuit of funds for rehabilitation of the Duberson School property, sponsors Amy L. Gatto and John W. Risley Jr.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Risley. Any commissioner comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to note, I previewed this in new business last meeting. I think many of us were contacted by a school board member from Hamilton Township, Harry Rogers, very passionately seeking funds, grant funding and such, from various state and federal opportunities. But I think he was faced with both from the state and federal level. If any of those legislators were going to help with seeking that, just wanted a kind of vote of support from Hamilton Township and from the county, that this is a worthy project for them to pursue. Hamilton Township voted on it last meeting, so they approved it. Obviously, the school board approved it, and as I mentioned, the grant to also approve it. It's not a commitment of funds or anything like that from us. It's just saying, yes, go out and find them if you can.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, Sarah, here, none. Anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. Brings us to Resolution 82.
Resolution urging New Jersey Coastal Coalition communities to use new alert systems, sponsor Amy L. Gatto.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Days. Any comments from our commissioners?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is just a follow-up from the presentation we had from the gentleman from the New Jersey Coastal Coalition. I basically took the materials they presented and put it into a resolution. That's it.
Any other commissioner comments? Seeing, hearing none. Anything from the public? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern.
Yes, motion carries. That brings us to one of our most important resolutions of the evening, Resolution 83, please.
Resolution honoring Diana Rutala upon her retirement.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Coursey, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Coursey.
If I may, I have not been here as long as Risley. Probably not as old as the carpet around here, but I've heard nothing
Commissioner
but great
Corson.
things about
Excuse me.
Diana.
Commissioner, speaking with your mic.
Y'all can hear me?
Nope.
Y'all hear me? Y'all heard him for hours.
I want everybody to hear you.
For the film.
But I've heard nothing but good things about you. So when we found out you were retiring, I called over there to Tara and said, listen, we need to make sure we put something on the agenda recognizing her years of service to the county of Atlanta. The interesting part about it is that on my short few years here, I've got to know you. And the funny part about it is when I first met you, I said, oh, me and her gonna be rumbling. Right? She got a little smart mouth like I do. But come to find out, your heart's certainly been into the work of the county and the residents of Atlanta County, and I don't think your work should go unnoticed. I don't know if you were trying to slip out the door, but nobody realized that you were really going to leave. But on the other hand, I get to deal a lot with your husband. A lot of municipalities get that opportunity to deal with your husband on a number of projects. And I mentioned to him the other day, but I didn't know if he told you we were attempting to do anything. I said, well, it's your wife's probably her last meeting. We're going to probably surprise her. He acted like he knew nothing about it. So that was a good thing. So we didn't have to worry about him telling me, right? But on a serious note, thank you so much for your service. I don't know what you plan on doing in retirement, but I will tell you this, your husband said you cannot and you will not be working with him. No. Don't tell him I told you that, but I mean, you know, but I don't know if he's...
We'd be divorced.
But he said you're going to be on the beach, spending a lot of time, etc. But I wish you well in retirement. Thank you so much for all you've done for the residents of Atlanta County. We hope that you're one of the ones who's still a phone call away. Congratulations in retirement.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments?
Chair. Yes, I'd certainly like to echo everything that of course she has said about Diana, and I concur 100%. We're losing a lot of good people in the county because of retirements and other things along the way, and Diana's been a big resource, and I'm sure you're going to be only a phone call away with anyone has a question in the administration that you can help with. I go back a few years with Diana to the days when she was Diana McLean and she was attending the budget meetings. We had in-person budget meetings in those days, and Diana was a trooper. She came even though she was sometimes very, very pregnant, and still attended all those meetings. And I've gotten to know Diana over the years, and I know that she's very smart and very thorough. And we're losing another good person in the county, and I just wish you well, Diana. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay. Seeing, hearing none. Anything from the public? Okay, we're going to have a roll call. Are we going to read it? Do you want to read it? Okay. Can we read that for the record?
Yes. Resolution honoring Diana Rutala on her retirement. Whereas Diana Rutala earned a bachelor's degree in political science with highest honors and program distinction from Richard Stockton College and was an intern with the County of Atlantic. And whereas while working for the late Congressman Bill Hughes in Washington, D.C., Diana Rutala accepted a full-time position with the County of Atlantic in 1985 and began her esteemed career in the Department of Administration. And whereas Diana Rutala ascended the county ranks as she garnered experience working in various departments, including administration, regional planning and economic development, administrative services, and the Division of Budgeting and Purchasing. And whereas in 2005, Diana Rutala was appointed as Deputy County Administrator and has been an exceptional leader and tremendous asset to the county, always working to accomplish projects as efficiently and productively as possible. And whereas Diana Rutala has been an invaluable member of the Atlantic County Executive Team as a highly competent and devoted employee for almost 40 years. And whereas in 2006, Diana Rutala was inducted into the prestigious Atlantic County Women's Hall of Fame for her work in government and public service. And whereas committed to giving back to her community, Diana Rutala served on the United Way Financial Allocation Committee and the Linwood Board of Education. And whereas though Diana Rutala will conclude her official duties on March 1st, 2024 as Deputy County Administrator, her contributions to Atlantic County will forever remain. Now therefore be it resolved by the Atlantic County Board of County Commissioners on this 20th day of February 2024 that this board does hereby honor Diana Rutala for her many years of dedicated service to Atlantic County, and be it further resolved that this board does hereby extend its very best wishes in retirement to Diana her husband Jim, and their 2 sons, Matthew and Sean.
Thank you. We'll have a roll call.
Ballas?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Horsey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes, motion carries. We would love to get a picture with you. Of course, we have a plaque for you over here. I'm going to ask Madam Clerk, would it be good to just line up in front of us? What's the best for us? We'll come down.
Diana, come to the middle.
Well, yeah,
Let her
do you want, is it better for
What's your
Diana?
speech?
Speech, Diana?
Look at that.
When you've always done your job quietly and effectively, when you retire, it takes 45 minutes to read all you've
I
done.
know. Wasn't
Thank you.
expecting this, so thank you very much. And she's right, I've got, it didn't seem like 30, it was 38 years. How much? Because I was in so many different places in the county. Kind of always felt like I was somewhere else. No, I've been here a long time in this position. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
Do I get it, Rick? Or-
No, I'm gonna make the suspense build.
I had to work with him
Always
too.
Thursday's manager for that.
You didn't even put the secret that she acts super mean, but is actually super sweet. It's just a persona.
This is for you to get there and our.
We're going to come down here. You tell us what's best. Right here?
Let's come around. Let's come
Come
around.
around. And then we sit and... We'll sit.
Get in behind us.
All right, Linda. Everybody smile. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, that concludes our written portion of the agenda. We've received copies of written communications and petitions. Any commissioner comments of anything they may have received?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ballas.
Yes, so again, I was contacted by members of the Echo River Township Volunteer Fire Departments requesting information on when the emergency flashing beacons will be installed. I can only tell them as much as I know, and I'm hoping that Doug can maybe update us tonight, that they're still back ordered and still trying to get them. This project is very long in the tooth. I've been asking you about it for almost 2 years now. I just am hoping that we get good news tonight from Doug, if he could speak.
Doug, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. From what I understand, most of the equipment's in, and it looks like they will be starting either the end of March or early April. They have 28 of these around the county, so I don't know what order they're planning on doing them in, but you know, if I get a schedule on that, I can share it.
Thank you, Doug. Great to have a time frame.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah.
If you want to oil the squeaky wheel, give me a call and I'll let you know which one it is.
Any other commissioners with written communications?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner?
actually, I'll wait.
Okay. Anybody else with any written communications or correspondence? Okay. Any reports of special committees?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Parker.
I know there were several of us that attended the ACCC groundbreaking of their new baseball field. So I wanted to congratulate them on that project, and you know, hopefully it will bring not only success to the college and this county, but also to every one of the student athletes who participates in the sport there at the college.
Thank you.
I also, while I have the con, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'd like to report from the Environment Parks Committee as well. We had Hamilton Township come to our last meeting to speak about the Bike Path West project.
It seems to be very positive energy coming from that meeting from most of the people who attended. And Hamilton Township is preparing and prepared to do their portion of that project and move forward. I know it was back and forth on whether it was going to happen or not, but it seems like that's a project that is going to happen. And Hamilton Township is moving forward, and everyone was very happy to hear that. Just, you know, to throw out there will likely become a time where it's going to come back to us, and we'll have to complete a portion of our end of the project. So let's get our minds and our hearts and our pocketbooks ready to do our part of that project. I know the state has kicked in and they found money through the state. So everyone's seeming to come on board for this project to happen. It seems like it's going to be a good thing for Hamilton Township and for the county of Atlantic.
Very nice. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Senior.
You pointed first. I saw you point.
Commissioner Corson.
Madam Chair, just to through you to Commissioner Parker. So I heard you mention the groundbreaking at ACCC. I got a call on my way here. There's no team this year.
I have not received that call. So you know more than I do.
On my way in, I had no idea. I knew it was groundbreaking.
We just get a new coach.
Yes.
A new coach with no team, that would be strange, but I would definitely be looking into that.
Very strange. Let us know.
Built
No, that
built
wasn't
the
even
field, they
mentioned
will
down
come.
there.
They will come.
On my way here, right?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I would like us, and I've inquired to the college, to get a list of all the folks that donated from major business firms. There was a lot of legal firms, engineering firms, and other wealthy folks around the county that made major contributions to this project. And, you know, let us not forget, this is our community college. You know, this is our community college. And we do a lot of good things there. And we spend money and we educate kids and we prepare them. And of course, they also have the 3+1 program, which is certainly a bargain, which means that in many cases, a student can take this third year of college at our community college at the community college rates. So that's a tremendous savings. So a lot of good things going on there. So, but I would certainly like to thank all the folks that made this possible. It's a great project, actually.
Any other reports from our commissioners? Commissioner Bertino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, the Atlantic County Board of Agriculture recently had their annual meeting. They have yearly. They had it in Hamilton on site. It was an opportunity for the members of the DEP to come down and explain to the farmers in the ag community the new regulations and permitting process for wells. A lot of the guys, as you know, use wells for agriculture. Some of them use it for production ag, where they're doing and producing their produce that they can prepare and ship. And there's been some big changes on that they went over at the dinner, and the farmers had a good opportunity. It was fun at times to contact and discuss with the DEP the ramifications of some of that. I think we're going to be hearing a little bit more about it. And as I've told a lot of the farmers out there, what was done in the past, as far as the state of New Jersey and well permitting, is going to be radically different here in the future, since we all realize water is probably the biggest commodity that we're concerned about. And farmers, even though they've taken the opportunity for changes in technology, and you don't see irrigation sprinklers, overhead stuff that they've done years. Everything is trickle. They've used water a lot less because of the whole process. They had an opportunity to at least have that dialogue with the guys directly who've been coming to the farms prior to. So it went rather well. I expect more meetings along those lines and keep the lines of communication open. Thank you.
Report. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other reports from our commissioners? Okay, that brings us to unfinished business. Anybody have any unfinished business they'd like to discuss? Seeing none, any new business anybody would like to discuss? Okay, seeing none. That brings us to the public comment. Anyone attending in person that would like to speak now at public comment, please come to the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and the town you reside. If you're attending virtually and would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. I'll call upon your name and a request to unmute you will be sent. Please state your name and the town you reside. You'll be provided up to 3 minutes to speak, and this allows us to have as many people that would like to speak possible. So, if anybody, any public comments? No, ma'am, we don't have any public comments. I'm sorry, sir?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, if you can come up to the mic and just state your name and the municipality you're from.
Vision impairment, not handicapping blind, just very distorted vision and a lot of eye pain.
You can pull that down.
Tony Kowarski, I'm a resident of Absecon, Yarmouth Avenue, Absecon. Exactly 2 miles from the center of the ACUA landfill, as the crow flies, or as the gas molecule travels. Is that Ernest? My brother Joseph would like to say hello, and he spoke very well. He's enjoying his retirement. He's got a grandson. Yeah. I can't see everyone's name. Maureen, you said that you watched the town hall.
I did.
Do you recall my presentation?
I did.
Okay, I spoke for about 20-25 minutes. The town erupted to give me more than 5. Matt certainly remembers me. I mean, he might have felt he took it on the chin, but I'm going to tell you, I pulled every punch because I am sincere about us working together to solve this problem. And I do not want to be adversaries. And I really appreciate your discussions about the gas collection and control system, both at our meeting and here. Just so everybody knows, I have a bachelor's and master's degrees in environmental science. I've worked with several federal land management agencies, Department of Interior, Department of Agriculture, other state environmental protection programs. I've been disabled for a while from this. I think that at the meeting in the town hall, I hope I accomplished a couple things. I hope you understand how awful the landfill odor or air pollution problem is, and that our residents are beyond fed up. But I also hope we got a commitment from you to work with us, to respond to our questions, in writing. And the thing I want to ask you is, I'm not hearing that in your presentations, this acknowledgement of how bad the problem is now. I haven't written at the ACUA site.
Tony?
Yeah.
You have to address your questions as well, or comments
Yeah.
this way.
Okay, yeah, I haven't written to the site, but just for instance, January 7th, February 18th, for 8 to 14 hours, we had the landfill mega fart event. I'm vomiting in my home. My 90-year-old neighbor and my new neighbors with children are calling me crying. She's putting Bengay on her arms and her, neck to stop the smell. I can't, sleep or function in my home. I stepped outside. You could cut it with a knife. I said it could gag a maggot, and it can. So when I hear Matt, I talk about the gas collection and control system, which is absolutely vital to any landfill. It seems to me that that system is working as intended. You should be congratulated for that. I know how difficult your job is. But there's a component of the landfill odor that you've never addressed. And it's the main component. And I don't know why you're not addressing it. Maybe perhaps because of the pending litigation, you could expose yourself to legal jeopardy if you acknowledge the problem. Everybody who experiences this, I'm 2 miles from it. I know people 5 miles from the landfill. You could set your watch by the odors. It's like the sparrows returning from Capistrano. It starts around 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening, and sometimes doesn't end until the early morning hours, maybe beyond 6 p.m., when they put the cover cap on. Now, we know what's happening at the landfill at that time. There are 2 shifts. The first shift takes the garbage from the transfer station, carts it up to the hill, spreads it, And it's not until, compacts it, and it's not until maybe 4 a.m. that they start putting the cover on. Once that cover is applied, the odors dissipate. So, and then we never smell the odor during the hours of, let's say, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., which means the gas control and collection system is working perfectly. The source of the odors that is driving everybody insane, they don't know if they want to slit their throats or sell their homes, but they can't live with it anymore. It's maddening. Is your daily, nightly operations of taking so much garbage that's been stored there for so long during the day, transporting it, spreading it over such a large area of a short period of time, letting it fester out there. You guys, that is the source of the odors that we're smelling. Like I said, you could set your watch by it. And the biggest problem is, we can't get, I can't call somebody at 12 a.m. or 1 p.m. at night, in the morning. We can't get inspectors out here.
Jenny, I have to remind you, you have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can't get inspectors, out to the site, independent environmental consultants, or even the DEP, with the kind of gas chromatography or other gas analyzers that would be needed. But the problem is, we don't even need that data. We know that this is doing irreparable harm, and that it is interfering with our ability to enjoy and use our properties and enjoy our lives. We were anticipating the closure of that landfill, and now we're hearing that it's going to be open until maybe mid-2029 or 15 years more. The gas control and collection system is a miracle. It's working because we're not smelling it during the day. Everybody who drives past, everybody knows that the problem is occurring at night when you're spreading the garbage. And I honestly don't know if there's a solution to that problem, short of closing the thing, because it's inherent in your operations, and that's the thing that nobody ever wants to acknowledge or admit. That is the source of the odor. So I just wanted to bring that up, because we're going to have to investigate this longer, and perhaps if people on the council here haven't heard my presentation at the town hall, I could send you a transcript copy of it. Or you could have me back sometime to give the kind of presentation Matt's given, or we can go, Q&A.
What I would act, I would send it to our Vice Chair Bertino.
Okay.
Because he heads that, as I mentioned a couple times, he is heading that committee. There's a number of our other commissioners that are on that committee, but it goes right to Commissioner Bertino. He'll take it.
Okay, and I just want to you guys, this is not a new problem. This is an ongoing problem. It's been going on for decades. So since they built that berm, and since, I guess, within the last year, the duration, the frequency, and the intensity of it have increased dramatically. And
this is why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're here.
So this is just the start of trying to figure out what's really going on, and come up with some solutions that allows everybody to breathe, enjoy their homes and their lives, and.
And you've got a great person in your council president right there with Mr. Lavatundo.
Yes.
And he's staying on this with Matt, and they're going to stay in constant contact with us as well.
Right, but.
Keep us updated. So great. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public?
Can I just make 2 comments on? I know I stayed because of the comment period.
Sure.
So, Mr. Karski, I appreciate where you
Oh,
So
now you
he was at the meeting, and it was a bit of an adversarial start, but I appreciated at the end it was a mutual respect for each other, that we were there, that we were trying to work through some things. A couple things I just want to correct, and we did look at some of the stuff. So if there is a correlation at nighttime, I would love to be able to pinpoint that. We haven't been able to do that because we have seen some stuff during the day and at nighttime. Again, not saying that it doesn't happen more at night because of what we talked about with temperatures and also with the breeze and the wind. The transfer station and moving waste out at nighttime, we've done testing inside the transfer station. So if the waste that we're taking out at nighttime is a source of the odor, then the odor would be in the transfer station as well. We did readings in the transfer station just because this was a written comment that we got into an environmental justice hearing process that we had to respond to. So we did some readings over the course of a week and got 0. One of the biggest things is, and you're an environmental science major, so you'll appreciate this, is landfill gas is created under an anaerobic process, not an aerobic process. It's the lack of air that creates the gas that starts to create the hydrogen sulfide. So that's why you're not seeing these big, large volumes of landfill gas when we put fresh waste in at nighttime, because we're putting fresh waste in during the day as well. We're compacting it, we're putting cover material on it, it's just a different type of waste. But the big source of odor really comes from the breakdown of that waste and the gas collection system, because it's an anaerobic process, not an aerobic process. Again, one needs air, one does not. The landfill production of landfill gas is a you can't have air present to create that gas. So I just want to kind of create that. But I want to get your contact before we go, because we were supposed to kind of connect afterwards and we never got a chance to, so I wrote your name down.
I decided to give you at least 6 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Tony.
Effort on both our parts.
Thank you.
And it is, and thank you very much, Tony, for that comment. And, it does look like we're trying to work together and at least have the information that we need. It seems to change as you're going along with some of the things that you're doing, and that's why they need the updates. We need the updates so we can communicate well, and so we appreciate, everything that you're doing. Anybody else from the public? Anybody from, come on, no? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go to the order.
Oh, go to the order. Do we have anything for the good of the order?
Madam Chair, I just want to put something in the air, since we're talking about the air so much. I may go nowhere, but I've had a couple conversations and I'll be free. I think it may be in our best interest to consider having commissioner mobile devices. The reason I say that is because I've been speaking with quite a few, of course I will speak to our council, but in terms of doing commissioner business on our cell phones and things, in terms of, people Ubering at a much higher rate nowadays, it just made better sense if we have commissioner cell phones, so all of that emails, text messages, cell phones, all the communication goes to a commissioner phone and not a personal phone, which could be open at any time.
Thank you.
Just a thought.
I second that because, and Frank would attest to this from the sheriff's department, once your phones are subpoenaed, they got your phone no matter what's in it.
That's right.
When you gonna get your phone back?
That's right.
If you're doing county business, that's something we need to take into consideration.
And I'm talking just answering an email.
Whenever you get on your personal
mobile phone,
if they choose to,
they choose to take our phone.
All right, Diane, can we push that through before you?
I think we used to have those, but
well, for those who want it, everybody might not want it, but it doesn't matter.
What did you
Once
say?
they subpoena your phone, they got you.
You say they used to have them over time?
we did. But some preferred using their own.
Right. Well,
So
we'll look into
we
it.
gotta wait for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say. You're probably done. All right, so we will look into that as well as our clerk here. See what we can do there with our. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else for the good of the order. Okay, we're now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.